in the world around us today. For the family and finance, it has also become an issue, or it is an issue. We have issues relating to the fact that families today, especially in Nigeria, we are struggling with so many issues. The economic situations have created a lot more tension for us in the families. Some of the challenges we have has to do with the cultures we all come from. Many of us, we have a lot of influences of our culture affecting how we live in our homes. And that affects, despite our Christian convictions, we have that influence of the culture. Somebody once said, success in life, in any area for that matter, without success in marriage, can be very tasteless. It can be very tasteless. That means that for us Christians, we must know that there's so much demand upon our lives to make our marriages to work. To make our marriages to work. Let's take the second paragraph and read through it quickly on page 10. In the quest to meet daily needs, some have compromised their faith by being dubious and corrupt. Proverbs 30, 8b and 9 says, "Give me neither poverty nor riches, but give me only my daily bread. Otherwise, I may have too much and disown you and say, 'Who is the Lord?' Or I may become poor and steal, and so dishonor the name of my God." This verse teaches the spirit of contentment. God knows your needs and can supply them. Do not allow wealth or poverty distract your faith and trust in God. Couples must recognize that the blessing of their hard work is from God and should be used to honor God, as in Deuteronomy chapter 8, verses 18 and 19. It is therefore the duty of the husband to provide for his family with the support of his wife as a suitable partner. This means they must work hard together to earn a living, be it through salary, business, farming, and the like. They must cultivate the habit of saving rather than spending all their income. There are different issues on this subject matter of finance in the family. We see today that many of us, the desire to maintain or keep our families has occupied our minds so much that it has affected the responsibilities we have to take care of our families. Parents spend hours chasing after resources, money, wealth, and the rest, and spend less time to raise their children. And that has become a major challenge in this generation. We have issues of unfaithfulness in the place of work because of the desire to make it, to be able to take care of the home front. People who are paid salaries, they hardly work for the salary. You go to work late, you leave the place of work early. You divide the time your employer is paying you with pursuits, other pursuits, in the name of trying to make ends meet. That is unfaithfulness. It may well be the practice. It may well be something that is common. But for us believers, it matters to the Lord because that represents an act of unfaithfulness. Others may cut corners and legitimize it by saying, well, you know, times are hard. To the extent that we have the courage to say, even God understands when we do those things. Brothers and sisters, we are approaching the end of this journey. We must recognize that we are accountable to God and we must be faithful to the end. Let our unfaithfulness let it not be diluted on the plate of trying to make ends meet. Sometimes, even the place of work that you are being paid, your productivity is not commensurate to the output you give in that place of work. Some of these things follow us to the family because the blessings of God cannot accompany us if and when we demonstrate unfaithfulness. And the demonstration of unfaithfulness in some of those ways that in our generation appear very legitimate, appear very harmless, are the real causes of why we have a lot more challenges in our lives than we ever imagined that we do have. Let us be careful. And the prayer in the Proverbs we just read, I pray that we can take it to heart. Do not pursue wealth. Do not pursue money. Do not pursue the resources of this life at the expense that will take you to the point where it will replace the position of God in your life. Now, there are other dimensions and issues that affect our families and our financial lives as well. Many times we have struggles in life because of the deficiencies in just complying with the basic principles of life that are scriptural. Budgeting and planning. We are expected to plan our lives. We are expected to budget what we'll be spending money on. Unfortunately, many of us, we indulge in so much borrowing that when any resource, any income comes our way, we do not have the latitude to plan or even to follow any budget anymore. The demand the Lord has upon our lives is to be organized. We need to plan. We need to budget. It is becoming common now that people go around to borrow money to pay rent. They borrow money to feed. They borrow money to buy or pay for clothes. That is not consistent with our identity as Christians. We need to plan. We need to budget. And this planning and budgeting need not be the formal way where you have a big sheet of paper and you begin to write out list of items. But you need to be responsible enough. You need to identify those things that are your responsibility and plan for them properly and timely as well. Saving and investment. Where are you? The subject of savings is fast fading out in many of our homes. We tend to live hand to mouth. We do not provide for tomorrow. We hardly have space for emergencies. This is compounded by the fact that we have a very poor savings culture as a people. You never, ever will have enough before you save. It is the commitment. If you have a heart to save, you'll be able to save. And the other aspect that I want to emphasize also is that even those of us who have tried to engage in some form of cooperative savings or cooperative activities, I commend those of us who do that. But trace it and see. Those savings, more often than not, end up for consumption only. We don't invest them. So, month after month, year after year, our situation remains the same. What may have changed is that we have added more years. Our hairs are becoming more gray, but nothing has changed about our circumstances. The calling of the Lord upon our lives demands more than that. Brothers and sisters, we cannot afford to continue to celebrate poverty. The nature of God in our lives is such that our testimonies should rather be testimonies of celebrations of abundance. The Lord Jesus said, I have come that you may have life and have it in all abundance. That is God's intention. That is God's design and his desire for your life. But today, we have accepted poverty as part of our lives. That shouldn't be so. And because of some of this negligence, our giving has also been affected. It does appear that we have gone back to that culture where on Sundays, whatever is left as change is what we bring to church as offering. And we end up rationalizing. Ubangiji ma ya sani. Abubuwa ba sauki. Rayuwa yana da wuya. Church ma sun gane. Our tithes and offerings have been affected. Our support for Christian projects have been affected. Our giving to God's servants has been affected. Our giving to the poor, widows, and orphans have been affected. May I ask you, when last did you give to an orphan? When last did you give to a widow? When last? I'm not talking about those who come to ask you. The heart of giving out of what the Lord has given you. Materialism has become a major epidemic in our generation. People buying clothing on credit. And because of materialism, we have gradually become absorbed into the world system. And you see us, Christians, also embezzling money, indulging in corrupt practices. And sadly, our consciences have become so deadened that we get involved in these things without really feeling any sense of guilt anymore. Mukanche sa amune. It's my turn. Young Oa, we are a disgrace to the name of the Lord if we continue these practices. In our families, there must be oneness in handling finances. I do not want to pretend that this is a controversial topic in this part of the world. It's sad to say that we still have in the Church of God husbands and wives that they are not aware of each other's sources. There are some sisters who do not know how much their husbands earn. And the same with the sisters as well. I'm not sure we can exhaust that discussion today, but just think back. What really is the desire of God for you and your spouse? What purpose does it serve? That your spouse, there are certain things about your life that your spouse isn't aware of. This is my money. This is my money. These are serious issues that is affecting the unity of homes, and of course it boils down to the unity of the church. Today we have more crises in the church because there are endless crises in the home. I just want us to read quickly the comment under E on page 11. While the Bible does not directly address modern concepts of financial management for couples or provide principles that support the idea. However, some passages imply the importance of unity, partnership, and shared responsibilities, including the area of finance. Couples are obliged to work together for a better income, and they should be sincere in the management of those resources, those income, its disbursement, and be able to trust each other in shared responsibilities, in meeting the needs in the home. I like this illustration, and I'm sure we have heard about it time and again. For the man, there is no argument that you are the head of the home. There is nothing happening in any part of the body that the head is not aware. Am I right? For the woman, she is the neck of the house. The head stands on what? Huh? The head stands on the neck. The head cannot survive without the neck. And the neck cannot survive without the head. If only we can appreciate each other's role as couples from that concept, it will help us. I strongly believe that it doesn't honor God to conceal your resources from your spouse. It doesn't. Let us not continue to perpetuate poverty by traveling the way of the world. Let us learn to practice the scriptures. Life will be more peaceful, and life will be more productive and fruitful. You can see how many years now you've been hiding or concealing the information about your resources from your spouse. How much has that improved anything in your life or in your home? If you are honest, you'll find out that it hardly will any significantly improve the situation. May the Lord help us to travel together as one family and recognize the fact that the trust the Lord has placed upon us demands that we be thoroughly transparent in our dealings with each other. It is said that for every opportunity, there is a responsibility. For every opportunity, there is a responsibility. You are married, there is a responsibility that goes with that. And the fearful part of it is that you are responsible first and foremost to the Lord. All this, it is not our practice. It is not our culture. It is not, in kabar matanka ta gane ka shiga uku, ta gane kudin da kana karba. And we still do that and hold the Bible in our hands. May the Lord deliver us. We read the conclusion. God is the giver of all resources to mankind to meet their needs. We must cultivate the habit of hard work as well as saving and investing. To achieve this, couples must be disciplined in the way they spend their resources through adequate budgeting. Believers must not engage in unhealthy ways to acquire wealth, else they will pierce themselves with griefs, as in 1 Timothy 6:10. They must use their wealth to honor God and bless the needy around them. The blessings are enormous if you practice this. And may I quickly just add also, when we talk about this topic, it looks like we're addressing only married people, young people, or married people. This applies to you. Planning, budgeting applies to you. Some of our uncles and aunties here, you may have been approached by young people planning to marry, and they come to you to give them money to prepare for their wedding. That shows lack of planning. So, every area of your life, endeavor to be involved in planning. Because we need to take day 4 today. We'll quickly just go into the discussion questions and then spare a few more minutes to take the day 4. What are some common challenges a family experiences when there is not enough money? I don't think there's anybody here who doesn't have an answer. Many, many problems, right? Let's share 2 of them, 2 or 3. Health issues, thank you very much. Health issues. And let me just say quickly on that issue of health issues. May I just announce to you that you are healthy today doesn't mean that you would not fall sick tomorrow. It doesn't mean that there would not be emergencies in the family around you tomorrow. And for the number of years I have spent, I have not discovered any time sickness sends a warning letter. You fall sick very easily or very suddenly. So that gives more reason to plan and save something. We have many brothers and sisters here who work in the hospitals. You don't go to the hospital to be treated on credit, right? So you need to plan, you need to save, you need to invest. Any other? Dependence. It pains my heart when we talk about this issue of dependence. You see a family of 8 people, only one person is on salary or on income. And it's not unlikely that it's the same with many members of our church here. We need to plan in such a way that we do not continue to carry such burdens. I know people will say, but there's no employment. Yara moba aiki. It's because many of us think that the only work to do is paid employment. When we go to day 4, hopefully we'll be able to touch a little bit on that. Any last point on this side? The common family, school fees, feeding fees, and so So many issues. So many issues. So all of these provide justification for us to better organize ourselves, better plan ourselves, better budget for our responsibilities and expenditure. There will never ever come a day you have enough money for anything. So it's advisable that we plan. In which ways can you improve your savings and investments as a couple? In which ways? Any suggestions, please? Reduce our overspending. Be more disciplined in spending. Spend on more only on essentials. It's advisable. Thank you. Any other? Buy what we need. Try to invest. Try to invest and be more deliberate, because in our Nigeria today, you will never have anything left if you are not committed, to sacrifice certain things to be able to save. So it's very, very important. How can you advise a couple that own property or spend money independently of the other, claiming this one is my own? What would be your advice?
At the basement. I remember the person who gave the sermon that day, Dr. Nantok. He said, have joint account with your husband. Some ladies were seated behind me. They say, Wanemu? Karka je wurin, ko kaɗan karka je wurin. We've been giving our husbands money, and they go and give their girlfriends or spend it on drinking. Okay? Ka rage wannan magana. Ba wani joint account.
That underscores the seriousness of the problem. And here we are, we take Holy Communion together. Here we are supposed to kneel down and pray together as a family. What are we teaching our children? What are we bequeathing to our children? And that is a very common challenge today. And it's still a painful reality within the church. I pray that God shows us mercy and dissolve our stony hearts. This is not what God intended. It is not part of his program, an agenda for us. Senior Pastor, I'm not sure this matter can be exhausted in these few minutes. But brothers and sisters, I think it is not the content of what we covered as being able to pick something. If I, the man, am the problem why my wife cannot trust me for us to have a joint account, I plead with you, ask God for special grace. Let this week's program mark a turning point. Let us not continue what has been the practice after now. And the same thing with our sisters. It's so difficult to understand that this is the same lady you spend nights visiting and courting her. This is the same man that he was the only mosquito in your net. And today, you cannot trust each other to to work together? How can the Lord bless you? How can the Lord prosper you? Something has to be done, brothers and sisters. May the Lord help us. We quickly go through the next one, which is day 4. This one is related to the first one also, entrepreneurship. The opening paragraph, introduction. The recent global economic crisis has led nations and households struggling to recover. This is affecting international economic progress significantly. Many families are facing poverty or financial hardship, yet they have untapped potential to effectively utilize their resources. This underscores the importance of teaching entrepreneurship to Christian families, to embrace innovative solutions and be empowered to overcome challenges. Today's lesson explores biblical principles that guide families towards entrepreneurship or entrepreneurial endeavors, fostering a transformative mindset within the church community. It is said that you are created to be creative. You are created to be creative. As I stand before you, I am yet, in my few years, I'm yet to find any creation of God that is useless. Every single one of us seated here has a place in God's program. We have no business to accept poverty as our nature. It is not true that there is nothing I can do. I do remember Elder Chikan many years ago, he shared an experience, let me quickly mention it here, in one program that I attended. That he was somewhere on an occasion and he met one person, Mutum in Jos. On the other day, Jos. Nangwa, ya keke. Suigeswa. Jos denang. Nothing moves. Abubuwa sundauru. Koina wahala. Ba ma abin da zaka samu kai. A few moments later, he met another person in the same occasion. Kana nan kwa? Nana, ya garing. Lapia. I just didn't know. There's so much to do that I don't even know which one to choose. The problem is where? Is the problem Joss or me? Many of us will say, ana magana we ayi wani abu, ayi wani business, ina kudi. The challenge is not with money. Many times I've had the opportunity of being confronted with this, and some people would say, sir, this thing you are saying, there's no money. I just don't have capital. I say, how much is it you need? About. The moment somebody says about, it's clear the person has not actually thought about what to do. The main problem in my own assessment is our mindset. our attitudes, our character. Some people cannot be trusted with 500 naira. Kabasu kagani. They change a color. They would not. They are so wasteful. You cannot do business when you have not learned even how to organize yourself. And there are some of us that have hangover. I azuria muba awani business damaze kwanabiu. We've already condemned ourselves. So these things combine to cage us in. Instead of exploring the opportunities God has made available to us. There are many parents that you have grown-up children in your homes doing nothing other than watching TV. You go to work, you come back, everything in the fridge has been emptied. You open to take even water, babu. And you empathize with them that dama rashin aiki nan ne yasa yaran nan suna zama a gida haka kawai. Instead of looking for employment, create employment. We have enormous opportunities that God has given us. I started by saying you are created to be creative.